It started with a question nobody ever expected to ask. Are Meghan and Harry's kids actually theirs? Sounds nuts, right? But this isn't some Reddit theory or gossip mag nonsense. This is reportedly coming straight from inside Buckingham Palace. A demand, not a suggestion, not a whisper, an actual demand for DNA tests on Archie and Lilibet. And before you think this is just another scandal tacked onto the royal family's long list of dramas, hold up, because this one, it cuts deeper. It strikes at the core of what the monarchy is built on: bloodline, heritage, and trust. The first time people started raising eyebrows was way back during Meghan's first pregnancy. Some thought it was just the usual internet noise, online speculation, people picking apart photos, comparing bump sizes, analyzing how she walked or squatted. Theories flew around that no pregnant woman could wear stilettos that easily or move that gracefully in her third trimester. But those whispers were laughed off, dismissed as hate or jealousy. Back then, no one in the mainstream took it seriously. Until now. What changed? A full-blown review of Meghan's pregnancy timeline, Palace insiders reportedly went back through photos, medical reports, or lack thereof, and every bit of documentation tied to the birth of Archie. And what they found wasn't reassuring. In fact, it was what they didn't find that set off alarms. No official hospital documentation under Meghan's name, no signed record from royal physicians, nothing concrete that confirms she ever physically gave birth. Now let's be real, using a surrogate isn't a crime. In fact, it's a beautiful, life-changing option for many families. The problem isn't how the child came into the world. The problem is the secrecy, the performance. The possibility that a staged pregnancy was sold to the public like a fairy tale. And this isn't just any family we're talking about, it's the royal family. Every baby born into that bloodline becomes a part of a centuries-old institution. And that institution runs on one thing above all else: legitimacy. According to some sources, King Charles himself is done playing nice. Behind closed doors, he's said to be restructuring the monarchy, trimming down who actually works under the royal banner, and now making sure everyone tied to that banner actually belongs there. That's where Archie and Lilibet come in. If they're to be included in the future royal framework, the palace reportedly wants ironclad proof they're biologically tied to Harry. It's not just a family issue, it's a constitutional one. What adds fuel to the fire is the total absence of the usual royal birth process. No official physician's statement, no hospital press appearance, no naming of doctors. It's a complete deviation from the traditional script. Every royal birth before this one has been meticulously documented: names, locations, times, medical staff. With Meghan and Harry, all of that was skipped. And in hindsight, that's exactly what people are zeroing in on now. And it's not just faceless palace staff raising eyebrows. Prince William is reportedly furious. Princess Anne? Disgusted. These aren't people who are easily riled up by tabloid chatter. They've been through divorces, affairs, even abdications. But this feels different to them. Because if Meghan and Harry lied, if they built a narrative around a fake pregnancy just to protect their public image or monetize a more relatable story, then they didn't just lie to the family, they lied to the nation, maybe even the world. And here's the wildest part: the more silent they stay, the worse it looks. What used to be interpreted as privacy is now seen as hiding. Because in 2025, silence isn't just silence, it's an answer. There's something about the way Meghan's pregnancy photos are being revisited that feels surreal. Not just by royal experts or gossip channels, but by regular people who never cared much about the crown to begin with. Clips are going viral again, her bump appearing smaller one day, dramatically rounder the next. In one now infamous video, it looks like the entire belly folds as she sits down. For years, these were brushed off as optical illusions or bad camera angles. But now, with the palace allegedly digging through old footage and official records, people are looking again. And this time, they're not laughing. Every frame is being treated like evidence. Was that a pillow? Did it shift too easily? Why was she able to crouch down so effortlessly in high heels during her third trimester? These aren't new questions, but the energy behind them is. It's not just curiosity anymore. It's suspicion, layered with frustration that no one ever gave a straight answer. And then there's the timeline. According to sources close to royal advisors, inconsistencies started popping up once they re-examined Meghan's maternity journey. There were gaps, contradictions, conflicting statements about when she went into labor, alleged visits to the hospital that have no matching records. Most shockingly, reports claim there isn't a single official birth certificate with the usual royal validation, something that's always been a given for royal children. Nothing stamped, signed, or confirmed by palace medical staff, just silence. That silence is exactly what's giving this story legs, because if there was nothing to hide, why not just clear it up? Why leave space for doubt to grow, especially when you're talking about royal succession, titles, and constitutional legitimacy? This isn't just celebrity drama, it's a matter that touches on who is in line for the throne. And that's not something the monarchy takes lightly. King Charles is reportedly under immense pressure to act, not just from advisors, but from his own family. Insiders say Prince William has had enough. He sees this as an embarrassment, a ticking time bomb that could damage everything they've worked to stabilize since the Queen's passing. He's said to have confronted Charles more than once about how long this has been allowed to fester. Even Princess Anne, who usually keeps her head down and focus sharp, is rumored to have labeled the situation a total disgrace. Meanwhile, Meghan and Harry remain quiet. Not a word from their camp. No interview, no Instagram post, no friendly podcast drop to spin the narrative, just complete radio silence. And in the vacuum they've created, people are filling in the blanks themselves. Conspiracy threads, fan theories, deep dives, it's all exploding across social media. And the conclusion many are drawing, if they had nothing to hide, they'd say something by now. But there's another layer here, the image. Meghan and Harry built a global brand around their story, stepping away from the crown, raising their children with freedom, being unfiltered, raw, and honest. They signed multi-million-dollar deals, wrote memoirs, and starred in documentaries that painted them as truth tellers. So if even part of that story turns out to be fiction, it's not just their credibility that takes a hit. It's their entire empire. People supported them because they believed in their version of the truth. They wanted to see a couple standing up against outdated systems, fighting for their love and their future. But if the foundation of that future, the birth of their children, was manipulated, then everything they've sold becomes tainted, not just to the royal family, but to the world. Behind palace walls, the urgency has shifted from quiet concern to outright crisis mode. Advisors are scrambling. Senior aides are reportedly combing through every document, every press release, every image ever released during Meghan's pregnancy, and what they're finding, or not finding, is being treated like a ticking bomb. There are whispers of confidential files locked in private archives, rumors of NDAs signed by unnamed medical personnel, even claims that financial transactions tied to a private clinic may lead to an entirely different birth story than the one told to the public. But here's the thing. This isn't about discrediting a woman for choosing a surrogate. That's not the issue. If Meghan had come forward back then and said she and Harry were using a surrogate for personal or medical reasons, most people would have applauded their honesty. Royals or not, people respect transparency, especially when it comes to motherhood. But what's enraging the public now is the idea that they may have been deliberately misled, that a carefully constructed narrative was sold to the world for sympathy, headlines, and financial gain, and that sympathy translated into serious rewards: speaking tours, book deals, production contracts, millions of dollars tied directly to their public image as hands-on parents who broke away from royal chains to raise their children on their own terms. If those children were never actually carried by Meghan, and if that truth was hidden to preserve a brand or control a narrative, then this goes far beyond family drama. It becomes fraud, emotional, reputational, and potentially financial. Now, the pressure is squarely on King Charles. He's walking a tightrope between duty and fatherhood. On one side, he has a monarchy to protect. On the other, his youngest son. And the question he reportedly keeps being asked behind closed doors is devastatingly simple. Can he afford to let this go unanswered? Some insiders say the decision has already been made. DNA verification will be required if Archie and Lilibet are to receive formal recognition in the royal order of succession. Not as a punishment, not as a public shaming, but as a matter of protocol, because when it comes to the crown, everything rests on the legitimacy of the bloodline. The idea that anyone, no matter how beloved or popular, could circumvent that with spin and strategy is a direct threat to the foundation of the institution. Meanwhile, public opinion is starting to shift. Even die-hard supporters of Harry and Meghan are beginning to ask uncomfortable questions, not because they want to tear them down, but because they feel betrayed. People defended Meghan through racism, media harassment, and royal coldness. They believed her. They stood up for her. But now they're wondering if they were defending a story that was never fully true. Social media is ablaze. Hashtags calling for clarity, side-by-side bump comparisons, clips dissected frame by frame, and while some of it is cruel or speculative, much of it is coming from a place of genuine disbelief. The same disbelief that's now driving formal conversations at the highest level of British power. Harry, for his part, is caught in the middle. If he knew the truth all along and went along with it, the consequences will be brutal. Not just for his standing with the palace, but with the public. And if he didn't know, if he truly believed the pregnancy was real, then the emotional fallout is almost worse. In the end, it all comes down to one unavoidable point. This moment isn't about Meghan. It isn't even about Harry. It's about trust. The monarchy may survive scandal after scandal, but it cannot survive a future built on doubt, which is why, for better or worse, the truth now has to come out.